is slipping out of the bonds that Western powers have been trying to put on it ever since the French and the British and Sykes-Picot after World War I. It will hurt us in various ways. It will spill over into terrorism and etc. But it seems like we've tried it the interventionist way and we've tried it the withdrawing way, and neither one has permanently worked.
The argument seems to be, from this side of the table, Brit, that it didn't matter what the U.S. did and what
It didn't matter what the U.S. did. And the tide of that war in Iraq was turned in part by what was called the awakening in Anbar province. And al-Qaeda suffered during the surge of American troops and heightened by the Anbar awakening among the Iraqis, a terrible defeat. Now they're back. They're back in no small measure because we left. Now, George is absolutely right that the American people would not be happy with a continued American presence in Iraq. American people are never happy with foreign interventions. It is the job of a president as leader to bring people along about such things. We have stationed troops in places all over the world for decades, and the net effect in most cases has been that they've helped to keep the peace. It is a role from which this president has shrunk. And the consequences of that are now becoming clear, and what's happening in Iraq and what is also unfolding in Syria are but two manifestations of it.
Amy, I'm going to bring you in a second, but George, I want you to respond to Brother Hume.
Well, the argument is that we had significant success in Iraq that would have been preserved if we had a residual force there. The question then is, how can you call a big success something that is so fragile that a few years after we leave, it seems to have been crumbling?
George, this happens in the aftermath of conflicts regularly. It's why we leave forces places, is because success is fragile. There's nothing unusual about that. This was not the complete destruction of all the nefarious forces that exist in the Middle East, which are numerous and to some extent connected. It was a fragile situation, which is why a continuing force is needed.
But the American people tolerate American forces on the 38th parallel in Korea because Korea itself is not engulfed in a civil war. The war is over. The war isn't over in Iraq.
Let me bring in Amy and talk.